I went through my fiancé's phone and found this. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. The lock screen lit up, and my stomach dropped instantly. Grant's phone was in my hand because he'd shoved it at me in the hospital parking lot, breathless, saying, "Babe, just order the rideshare. My battery's at 1%. I was still in my scrubs, hair in a knot, smelling like antiseptic and adrenaline. 2 weeks left until our wedding. 2 weeks until I became Mrs. Grant Hollis, the name he loved practicing in mirrors. I had a rule about phones: don't look. I'd grown up watching my parents shred each other over proof, and I swore I'd never build love on surveillance. Grant liked that about me. He called it mature. He also loved reminding me that I was safe, the calm one, the one who didn't make scenes. The screen woke under my thumb, and a banner slid down: Operation Evergreen 6. For a second, I thought it was some dumb fantasy football group chat. Then I saw the preview line: after she signs, move the balance. No hesitation this time. I didn't unlock the phone. I didn't need to. The words sat there, neat and casual, like someone talking about switching cable providers. Grant was pacing by my car, calling someone on speaker. Yeah, the venue is handled," he said, smiling like everything in the world belonged to him. He looked back at me and mouthed, "You good?" I forced a nod. My pulse thudded against my throat so hard it hurt. I'd worked ICU long enough to recognize what panic did to the body: the cold sweat, the narrowing vision, the insane urge to run even when there's nowhere to go. "What's Operation Evergreen?" I asked, trying to keep my voice normal. Grant laughed like I'd asked what he wanted for dinner. "Oh, it's nothing. Work nonsense." "You ordered it?" The rideshare app was open already, like he'd handed me a prop in a play he'd rehearsed. I stared at the pickup address, his upgraded condo, not my little apartment. Then at the notification again: Operation Evergreen 6. 6 people. 6 messages. Plans. I hit confirm with shaking fingers, because if I didn't act normal, he'd know. Then his phone buzzed again, and the preview used my full name. Grant and I met the way modern love stories like to pretend they're fate, in a coffee line, both reaching for the last blueberry muffin. I was coming off a night shift, eyes gritty, and he said, "Take it. You look like you save lives for a living." When I told him I was ICU, he didn't do that thing some men do: either flinch or try to compete. He smiled like he was proud of me already. For months, he was the easiest part of my life. He sent lunch to the unit on my rough days. He remembered my best friend's birthday without me prompting. When my car battery died in a grocery store lot, he showed up in 20 minutes with jumper cables and a stupid little blanket because it's cold and you get dramatic. He made me laugh when I forgot how. The green flag I told everyone about was how he handled my boundaries. On our third date, I said, "I don't do messy. I don't do hidden X's, secret accounts, or games." He raised both hands like a surrender. "Maya, I'm boring. My biggest secret is that I alphabetize my spices." And honestly, he looked boring in the best way. Polished job, nice condo, family dinners where his mom posted pictures before we'd even finished eating. He fit into my friends' lives like he'd been pre-approved. The only thing that ever pinged in my gut was how much he cared about looking good. Not being good, looking good. He'd adjust my posture in photos. He'd correct my wording in front of people. Say, "I'm a nurse in critical care," he'd whisper. "ICU sounds harsh." "I am harsh," I'd joke. He'd smile, but his eyes would stay too focused. "It's not about harsh. It's about branding." That should have made me run. Instead, I told myself he was just ambitious. Everyone has a thing, right? A week ago, at my bridal appointment, he insisted on paying the final dress installment himself. "Let me," he said, pressing his card into my palm. "We're a team now. Stop keeping score." It felt romantic until he added, softly, "You trust me with everything now, don't you?" After that bridal appointment, the little things started stacking like plates I didn't want to wash. Grant changed his passcode. He didn't announce it. I just noticed the way his thumb hovered when I walked into the room, like he was shielding the screen from my eyes. If I sat beside him on the couch, he angled the phone toward his thigh. If I reached for the charger, he'd say, too quickly, "I've got it." When I teased him, "What? Are you hiding your spice alphabet?" He'd laugh and kiss my forehead. Work has gotten weird. Compliance stuff. It's nothing. Then came the work trips. In 3 weeks, he had 2 overnight conferences that didn't exist on his public work calendar. He left in tailored jackets and came back with no swag bag, no lanyard, no tired stories. Just a faint smell of hotel soap and a slightly too bright mood, like he'd aced a test. The money pressure slid in like fog. It wasn't, let's plan a budget. It was, babe, it's easier if we merge everything after we're married. Or, my lender said it looks stronger if your name is on the refinance too. He'd say it the way you'd suggest trying a new restaurant. I told him my savings were mostly for emergencies and student loans. He made a face like I'd admitted to hoarding in the basement. Maya, he said, gentle but firm, marriage is shared risk. Shared, I repeated. Not transferred. He squeezed my hand, smiling for the optics even though we were alone. You're always so clinical. Trust me. The weirdest moment came on a Tuesday when we were at my apartment eating takeout. His phone buzzed on the table, screen up, rare, and I saw the banner for half a second before he flipped it. Evergreen, check her credit freeze status. I blinked like maybe I'd hallucinated it from exhaustion. ICU nurses see ghosts at 4 a.m. Sometimes your brain fills gaps. What was that? I asked. He didn't miss a beat. Spam. Some mortgage thing. You want dumplings? But the banner replayed in my head, sharp and wrong, as if the phone had whispered it directly into my ear. I smiled back and realized he watched my reaction, not my face. The moment I got his phone wasn't some rom-com snooping montage. It was earned. 3 nights later, I was finishing a 12-hour shift when my own phone died. Black screen, no warning. I was walking to the parking garage when I heard my name. Maya. Grant jogged up, hair still perfect, holding 2 coffees like he'd been waiting for a camera crew. Surprise. I figured you'd be wrecked. You're sweet, I said automatically, even though my feet ached and my head felt packed with cotton. He leaned in. We need to talk on the way. Something came up. His phone started vibrating in his pocket. Once, twice, then again, like an impatient knock. He pulled it out, frowned at the screen, and shoved it toward me. Can you just handle it? He said. It's a rideshare issue. The driver keeps calling. I stared at the glass rectangle in my hand. My dead phone felt suddenly heavy in my bag. Useless. Grant's eyes were on the garage exit like he wanted to escape the moment. The screen showed a missed call from an unknown number, then another. The 3rd call came immediately, and the name that flashed was an Uber. Brooke. Grant's sister never called me. She didn't need to. She lived in the same orbit as Grant. Family brunches, curated smiles, expensive wine. I was the girl with the shift work schedule who made it complicated. The phone rang again. My thumb hovered over answer. Grant's jaw tightened. Don't, he said, too fast. She's dramatic. Just decline it. What if it's important? I asked. He stepped closer, voice low. Maya, please, just decline. In the ICU, please meant there was blood somewhere. It meant panic behind control. I looked at him, then at the phone, then at the way his hand twitched as if he wanted to snatch it back. I accepted the call. Hi, I started. Brooke's voice came through, small and shaky. Maya, I'm sorry. I didn't know who else to call. Grant lunged, grabbing for the phone. I turned away, heart pounding. What's going on? I asked, and Brooke inhaled like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. Then Brooke said, He's doing to you what he did to me. Grant's hand closed around my wrist like a warning. Give it to me, he said, still smiling, like we were joking. Brooks, she spirals. You don't need this. On the phone, Brooke kept talking, words tumbling. He'll tell you I'm jealous. He'll say I'm unstable. But Maya, I saw my name on paperwork. I saw the debt notices. He uses people like stepping stones. Brooke, I said, trying to breathe, slow down. What paperwork? Grant mouthed hang up and shook his head hard. Brooke's voice dropped to a whisper. Check his messages. Search Evergreen. I can't explain over the phone. Then the call cut out. Either she hung up or Grant's 1% battery finally died because the screen flashed low power mode and stayed on. The phone was still unlocked from the call. Grant reached again. I stepped back. Why is your sister telling me to search your phone? He exhaled sharply. Because she's trying to ruin my life before the wedding. I stared at him. Is there something I'm going to find? His smile didn't move, but his eyes did. They flicked to the phone, then to the garage cameras above us. Optics. Always optics. Maya, he said softly, don't do this here. Do what? I asked. Find out who I'm marrying. My thumb moved before my brain caught up. I opened Messages and typed EV into the search bar. The result popped up instantly, like it had been waiting. Operation Evergreen. A pinned thread. 6 participants. The latest message was from Grant, timestamped 11:42 p.m. last night, while he'd been in the shower humming like a man with nothing to hide. I tapped it, and the chat loaded with bullet point energy, like a project plan. After marriage license. Push for joint checking. Get her to close credit freeze. Have her co-sign the renovation loan, $72,000. Frame it as our future. Move condo helic balance, $48,200, into new line. Keep title clean. And then Grant's message. She's tired, but she's compliant when you use the script. At 11:42 p.m., Grant's own message described me as the asset. Grant finally got the phone back, because I let him. I know how that sounds. But in the ICU, you learn quickly. If you panic too early, you lose the chance to see the whole picture. I needed him to believe I was still compliant. So I handed it over with a shrug I didn't feel. Your sister called. She sounded upset. He took the phone like it weighed nothing. She always is, he said, and slipped it into his pocket. Then he reached for my waist, trying to fold me into him. Let's not let her poison this. I forced my body not to flinch. Okay. On the ride home, he talked about the wedding seating chart, the way people talk when they're filling silence to control it. The homicide needs to look cohesive, he said. No random plus ones. And your friend Tessa, she's loud. Seat her near the back. My friends aren't props, I said lightly. He smiled. Everything is a prop, babe. That's how you win. That night, I tested him the way you test a patient's reflexes, small, controlled stimuli. Over pasta, I said. Hey, do you think we should keep our accounts separate for a while? Just until after the honeymoon? His fork paused. Half a second. Then, why would we do that? I don't know, I lied. It just makes me feel safer. He leaned back, expression gentle. Maya, you're safe with me. You don't need a credit freeze mindset anymore. My blood went cold. I hadn't mentioned my credit freeze. I barely talked about it at all. I put it on years ago after someone tried to open a store card in my name, and I kept it because I liked the feeling of a locked door. What do you mean? I asked, keeping my voice even. He laughed softly. You told me, remember? Early on, you said you were paranoid. I stared at his face, searching for the crack. He held eye contact too perfectly. The next morning, while he showered humming again, I opened my laptop and pulled up my credit report. When I checked my credit report, an inquiry dated that morning was already there. I didn't sleep. I kept replaying the chat phrases, asset, script, close credit freeze, like my brain was trying to convince my body to run. At 6 a.m., I texted Grant, long day. I'm going to crash at my place tonight. He replied in 30 seconds, of course. Proud of you. Love you. The speed felt like monitoring, not affection. I waited until my lunch break, then did the one thing he'd been pushing for months. I opened the wedding planning folder on the shared iPad he'd set up in his condo. He'd framed it as teamwork. So you don't have to carry everything in your head, he'd said, kissing my temple. His Apple ID was still signed in. I told myself I would only look at what involved me. I told myself I was protecting my future. Then my hands started moving on their own. Notes app. Search, Evergreen. A note popped up titled Evergreen, Maya, with neat checkboxes like a grocery list. Reassure her. I want us to feel like a team. If she resists, you don't trust me? Soft voice, eye contact. Mention her debt as our debt to normalize. After license filed, schedule bank appointment. Do not let her talk to Tessa alone. My throat made a sound I'd never heard from myself. Half laugh, half choke. Calendar next. On the Monday after our wedding, there was a private event blocked out from 9:45 to 11:15 a.m. Maya signing. Halcyon Credit Union. I had never agreed to any signing. I didn't even bank at Halcyon. Then I saw an email preview synced on the iPad. Subject line cut off, but unmistakable. Action required. Complete your application. I clicked, and a form loaded with my name pre-filled. My address. My birthday. The last 4 digits of my social security number. Someone had started a credit application in my identity and left it sitting there, like a loaded gun on a table. I backed out, heart hammering, and opened photos. Hidden album, 12 items. In his hidden folder, I saw my social security card, photographed, zoomed, and saved. If it had been a flirty thread with some girl from work, I think I could have screamed, cried, and still kept my life intact. This was a project. I sat in my break room with my sandwich untouched, scrolling through screenshots I took with shaking hands. Grant hadn't just talked about merging accounts. He'd mapped out my finances like terrain. The credit inquiry on my report matched the email on the iPad. Halcyon Credit Union. Personal line of credit. Amount, $80,000. Status, in progress. I called Halcyon from a hospital phone, so my dead personal phone wouldn't betray me with a call log. I kept my voice calm, the way you do when you're trying not to spook someone with a knife. Hi, I said, I'm Maya Serrano. I'm seeing an inquiry from your institution. I didn't apply for anything. The woman on the line didn't give me details, privacy policies, rehearsed scripts, but she did say the sentence that mattered. We do have an application started under your name this morning, she confirmed, and then quickly added, if you believe this is fraudulent, you'll want to file a report and place an immediate fraud alert. Fraud, not misunderstanding. Fraud. After my shift, I drove to a public library because my apartment felt too small for what I'd found. On a free computer, I searched county records for Grant's condo address. Public information, no hacking required. The results came up in black and white. Notice of default filed 2 months ago. A lien recorded last week. His perfect condo wasn't a trophy. It was a sinking ship with a fresh coat of paint. I pulled up the group chat again, the one he'd called work nonsense. The messages weren't emotional. They were logistical. Need her to unfreeze credit before June 1st. Her paycheck is stable. Lenders love that. Once married, it's harder for her to walk. My hands went numb at that last line. Then I found an attachment in the chat, evergreen_schedule, XLSX, tabs labeled bank, paperwork, messaging. I opened the preview, and the final row made my breath catch. The last spreadsheet row read, if Maya hesitates, activate Brooke. I met Tessa at a quiet coffee shop 2 blocks from my apartment, the kind with mismatched chairs and people working on laptops like it was their job. I picked it because it had a back corner and a bathroom with a lock. Paranoia had arrived in my life, wearing my own face. Tessa took one look at me and said, okay, you look like you saw a body. Not a body, I said, sliding my phone across the table. A blueprint. I showed her the screenshots, the Operation Evergreen thread, the checklist note titled Evergreen. Maya, the calendar block Maya signing. Halcyon Credit Union, the credit inquiry dated that morning. I kept my voice low, like secrets were contagious. Tessa didn't gasp. She didn't do the maybe it's a misunderstanding dance. She stared at the words, jaw tightening with every line. He called you an asset, she said flatly. I nodded, and tears threatened, not because I was surprised, but because it hurt to be confirmed. Step 1, Tessa said, already in command mode. You freeze everything. Credit, accounts, all of it. Step 2, you document like your life depends on it, because it might. I didn't even unlock his phone. I whispered. I just saw previews. The iPad was already signed in. Good, she said. That means you didn't hack anything. You used what he left open. But you need backups. She pointed at my laptop bag. Email those screenshots to a brand new account. Put copies on a flash drive. If he gets into your devices, he'll delete history and tell everyone you're crazy. My stomach twisted. That's exactly what Brooke warned me about. Tessa looked up sharply. Brooke warned you. On the phone, I said. Before the call cut, Tessa leaned back, thinking. So his sister is either the canary or part of the plan. The phrase from the spreadsheet hit me again. If Maya hesitates, activate Brooke. What would you do? I asked, the moral question spilling out raw. Confront him? Cancel everything and disappear? Tessa's eyes were steady. You don't confront a man who's running a scheme. You set a trap. My phone buzzed on the table, and my whole body jolted like it was wired to him. At 4:07 p.m., Grant texted, Why did you call my bank? I didn't answer his text right away. Tessa covered my hand with hers like she could keep me from shaking. Breathe, she said. He's testing control. Don't hand it back. So I typed, what? I didn't call your bank. I saw an inquiry on my report and panicked. A minute later, come over. We'll talk. I hate this. He showed up at my apartment 40 minutes after that with a bouquet and a soft sweater. I'm sorry, he said the second I opened the door. I shouldn't have snapped. I'm under pressure. I kept my voice light. From what? He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. The bank thing, he said. It's complicated. I was trying to handle it without stressing you. By starting a credit application in my name? I asked, pushing just enough to sound confused, not accusing. His smile didn't drop. No, not in your name. For us. He set the flowers down and took my hands. You know how lenders are? They want stability. Your income is stable. Mine is variable. I didn't agree to that, I said. He squeezed my fingers. You would have. You just get anxious when you see paperwork. He tilted his head, like he was studying a patient. Did Tessa put this in your head? I kept my face blank. I haven't talked to her. He watched me for a beat, then reached for my phone on the counter like it belonged to him. Can I see your call log? Just to clear this up. My heart slammed. If he saw the coffee shop location, if he saw the timestamp, if he saw anything. I don't have a call log, I said too fast. My phone died yesterday. He stared, then laughed lightly. Okay, then show me your credit report email. I moved before I could think, opening my laptop instead, pretending it was all the same. Here, it's just an inquiry. He leaned over my shoulder, cologne and control, and scrolled like he was reading a menu. See, he murmured. This is why I didn't want you looking. You spiral. I felt myself tilting toward the old instinct. Apologize, smooth it over, be the calm one. Then he kissed my forehead and said, softly, let's keep this between us, Maya. He leaned in and whispered, if you embarrass me, you'll regret it. The next day, I met Mr. Halpern in a small office that smelled like paper and coffee that had been reheated too many times. Tessa sat beside me, arms crossed, like she was daring the world to try something. Halpern didn't do dramatic. He didn't gasp at Operation Evergreen. He read my screenshots the way doctors read labs, quietly, looking for patterns. First, he said, you're going to assume he will rewrite the story the moment he's cornered. I swallowed. Rewrite how? Make you seem unstable, vindictive, confused. Halpern tapped the note titled Evergreen Maya. He literally wrote a script for it. Tessa muttered, psychopath. Halpern held up a hand. Labels don't matter. Steps do. He spoke in plain sentences, like he'd learned long ago that fear can't process jargon. He laid it out. I needed to place a fraud alert and freeze my credit with all bureaus immediately. I needed to save copies of every screenshot in more than one place. I needed to make a timeline of events, dates, times, who said what, because memory gets slippery when someone starts gaslighting you. If an application was started in my name, I needed to notify the institution in writing and request the record. What about the wedding? I asked, voice cracking on the word. Halpern didn't soften it. If you cancel quietly, he gets to control the narrative. If you confront him alone, he gets to erase evidence and pressure you. The safest option is a controlled reveal with witnesses and documentation. A trap, Tessa said, almost satisfied. Halpern nodded once. A meeting where he has to commit to a lie in front of people who can verify facts. I stared at the fluorescent light above his desk, feeling like my life had become a case file. I don't want revenge, I whispered. I just want my life back. You're not seeking revenge, Halpern said. You're preventing fraud. He slid one screenshot forward, the one where Grant wrote, once married, it's harder for her to walk. Halpern looked at me over his glasses. He thinks marriage is a lock. Tessa leaned in. So we show him it's a spotlight. Mr. Halpern looked at my screenshots and said, this isn't his first. Playing normal took more energy than a night shift. Halpern told me, you don't need to bait him with drama. Bait him with his own confidence. Grant believed he could talk his way out of anything. He believed his charm was a get-out-of-consequences card. So I texted him the next morning. I've been thinking. I overreacted. Let's meet and go over everything calmly. He responded with a heart and a paragraph about love. That's my girl. I hate fighting. We're a team. I wanted to throw up. I suggested we do it the right way. A quick meeting at Halcyon Credit Union to clarify the application, then dinner with his family to reset before the wedding. I made it sound like I was trying to protect his image, because that was the language he understood. Grant loved it. Perfect, he said on the phone. See? This is why I'm marrying you. You're rational. I kept my voice soft. I also want Brooke there, I added. I don't want any weirdness between us. A pause. Why, he asked. So she can stop calling me in parking garages, I said, like I was joking. He laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. Fine, if it makes you feel better. Behind the scenes, Halpern drafted a short letter for Halcyon disputing the application and requesting their records. Tessa helped me print everything, screenshots, credit inquiry, county lien notice, into a folder that felt heavier than my wedding binder. Remember, Tessa said, tapping the pages, facts don't care about his vibe. Brooke agreed to come, but only after I texted her, I know about Evergreen. I need you to show up. She replied 3 minutes later. Okay. Please don't hate me. That morning, I dressed like myself, not like his brand. Simple black pants, flats, my nurse's ID still clipped to my bag. My hands shook the whole drive. At Halcyon, a loan officer led us to a glass-walled office where everyone could see everyone. Halpern sat across from me, calm as stone. Tessa waited in the lobby, just in case. Brooke arrived last, eyes rimmed red. Grant entered like it was his stage, kissing my cheek and greeting the loan officer by first name. Then he squeezed my hand under the table and whispered, "You're doing the right thing." Grant smiled at my yes and asked, "Should I bring the papers?" The loan officer rotated her monitor toward us with a practiced smile. "Okay," she said, clicking through screens. "So this line of credit is for $80,000, unsecured. The primary applicant is Maya Serrano. The application was started yesterday at 9:12 a.m. and saved." Grant's hand tightened around mine. "Right," he said smoothly. "We started it together." I kept my face blank. "I didn't start anything." The loan officer hesitated. "It looks like it was initiated from an email address ending in." She squinted, then read it, "Grant. Hollisat." Grant chuckled. Of course. I was helping her. She gets overwhelmed with forms. My stomach turned. He was saying the script out loud. Halpern leaned forward. "Ma'am, can you show the listed funding destination?" The loan officer clicked. A routing number appeared, then an account ending in 7721. "That's not my account," I said immediately. "I don't have an account here." Grant's smile held. "It's the new joint one." "We haven't." Halpern cut in, calm. "There is no joint account. Maya has never banked here." The room went quiet in that glass box, the kind that makes you hear your heartbeat. It lists the authorized user as Grant Hollis, the loan officer said, voice suddenly careful. "And the phone number on file is his." Brooke made a sound, sharp like she'd been punched. "Oh my God," she whispered. Grant finally looked at her. "Brooke, stop." Halpern slid my screenshots across the desk. "Operation Evergreen," he said. "A plan to use her credit." Grant's eyes flicked over the pages, then back to me, anger flashing hot and fast before he remembered the cameras. "You went through my phone?" he snapped. "I didn't," I said, voice shaking anyway. "You handed it to me. You left your account signed in. You started an application with my identity." He leaned toward me, lowering his voice like he was doing me a favor. "Maya, you're making this ugly." Brooke finally spoke, tears spilling. "You did it to me first," she said. "You said it was temporary. I paid for your mess for 2 years." Grant's jaw clenched as he stood up, and for the first time, he didn't smile. Grant didn't explode the way I expected. He didn't throw chairs or scream. He went cold. He stared at the loan officer, then at Halpern, then back at me like I'd become a problem to solve. "We're done here," he said, voice smooth. He walked out of the glass office without another word. Brooke stayed seated, shaking. "He told me you'd ruin him," she whispered, wiping her face. "He said you were emotional and you'd twist things." "Did you know about the chat?" I asked. She flinched. "Not the whole thing. I knew he had a plan. He asked me to call you if he got difficult. I didn't understand what it meant until you answered." Outside, Grant was already making calls. By the time I got in my car, my phone had 3 missed calls from his mother and 1 text from an unknown number. "Stop harassing our family." The engagement dinner that night turned into a battlefield I wasn't even present for. Grant sent a group message to both families. Wedding postponed due to Maya's mental health crisis. Then he added a photo of my ICU badge, cropped from a picture he'd once posted bragging about me, like proof he knew where to aim. Tessa came over with a bottle of cheap wine and a folder of cancellation numbers. "We're calling vendors," she said. "Before he does." I spent hours on the phone canceling deposits I'd saved for with overtime shifts. Some vendors were kind, others were blunt. "Non-refundable," one coordinator said, like she'd said it 1,000 times. Each loss felt like a small punishment for trusting him. Grant tried to rewrite reality in real time. He emailed my friends. He messaged my cousins. He even texted me, sweet as syrup, "We can fix this if you stop humiliating me." I didn't respond. Halpern told me silence was a shield. I filed a fraud report. I sent Halcyon the dispute letter. I froze my credit so hard it felt like slamming a deadbolt. And still, the hardest part wasn't paperwork. It was grief. I mourned a man who had never existed, while the real one stalked the edges of my life like he owned them. On the night our wedding should have happened, the doorbell rang at 11:58 p.m. I didn't open the door at 11:58 p.m. I looked through the peephole first, because that's who I was now. A man in a windbreaker held a clipboard and a sealed envelope. "Delivery for Maya Serrano," he called through the door. "Signature required." I didn't sign. I called building security, then texted Halpern a photo of the envelope through the crack when the guard arrived. Inside was exactly what Grant would send when he couldn't control me with charm: paperwork and intimidation. A cease and desist letter, full of big words and empty threats. A demand that I stop spreading false accusations. And stapled to the back, like a punchline, was a printout of my own credit inquiry, proof he wanted me to know he'd been watching. Halpern filed a response the next morning that was basically, "Try it." He requested discovery of the Operation Evergreen messages and the Halcyon application records. 2 days later, Grant's attorney went quiet. A week later, Halcyon confirmed in writing that the application was flagged as fraudulent and closed. The wedding didn't happen. The deposits didn't magically return. I lost money, yes, but I kept my future. I kept my name. I kept the part of me that knows how to walk out of a room before it turns into a cage. Brooke met me once, without Grant, at the same coffee shop where Tessa had called it a blueprint. She slid a folder toward me, her own debt notices, her own emails, her own proof. "I'm sorry," she said, and I believed her. She wasn't a villain. She was a warning flare that had finally burned bright enough. Healing wasn't cinematic. It was small. Therapy appointments on Tuesdays. Changing passwords. Freezing my credit and keeping it frozen. Telling my manager at the hospital, "If anyone calls pretending they know me, send them to HR." Learning to sleep without bracing for the sound of a key in the lock. If you're reading this and your partner pressures you to merge money fast, calls your boundaries paranoia, or makes you feel guilty for wanting clarity, pause. Check your credit. Keep your own accounts. Tell a friend. Document what you see. Love shouldn't require you to hand over the parts of your identity that keep you safe.